Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Your double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother, I will call from Great Millstone, Orlando. And I just found this video rather interesting, being that we are approaching the 250th inception of Babylon, aka America. And with that, it's going to come a certain energy. It's going to come a certain spirit that the people are in. You know, these people being just completely oblivious to what's going on around them. You know, that's why that day is going to catch them as a thief. It's going to catch them completely unawares. We're watching this video here. As it says, NATO allies urged to step up as Trump puts nations on notice. And as Trump has been for years talking shit against his own allies, which, you know, these are only chess moves being made for Revelation 17 to come to pass, Obadiah 1, in reference to America's allies and all these nations shooting the missiles at America. Because Trump has been talking shit against his own allies. You know, so like I said, I found this video rather interesting. I'm gonna play through it real quick, and copyright disclaimer, I don't make any type of monetary gain. This is just for informational purposes.
Meanwhile, President Trump has long pushed NATO allies to do more for their own defense. But a new Reagan Institute survey finds many of his supporters still back the alliance. How about this? 73% of Americans say remaining in NATO matters to U.S. security and prosperity, including 64% of Republicans and 61% of MAGA Republicans. The director of Ronald Reagan's Institute, Roger Sackheim, a great friend of the show, joins us now. Roger, are you surprised by that?
I'm actually not. We've seen durable support for NATO across all Americans, especially Republicans and MAGA Republicans. One thing that's in there that wasn't captured in your intro is that young MAGA, we overextended on young MAGA here, 18 to 29-year-olds, to the tune of 70% support NATO. And I think it ties to something the president understands. It's a Reaganite principle, which is weakness invites aggression. And as long as NATO is strong, that's good for the United States. It's good for the free world.
And what the president has done is, for the first time, and I know Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush said, hey guys, you got to pay your fair share. You got to pay your way. 2%. Now the president's got everybody paying 2%. Now we're getting up to 3%, 4%, and 5%
He got
of their defense budget.
30.
Hey, that's that Daniel 7 and 10. I'm sorry, Daniel 7 and 20. It says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom three fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Because, you know, when pursuant to Revelation 13, right, what established America as the world dominant superpower was those bombs that they dropped on Ammon. All right. And for a long time, as it says here in Isaiah 14, Isaiah 14 and 6, Isaiah 14 and 5, the Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the sceptre of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth. And for a long time, you know, America has ruled, or has been the as the scriptures say, referred to Babylon as the great whore. This has been the dominant place to spread wickedness, as the scriptures talk about. The golden city has ceased. All right, Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai is putting an end to this hegemony. You see, so America's not the big bad bully on the block anymore. And as the scriptures say, that I want to make the point You know, outside of Yahweh Shai, no one can touch America but their own people. That's why I want to grab this in Ezekiel. Bear with me. Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38 and 16. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctifying thee, O Gog, before their eyes. So just making a point, Yahweh Bashim Shai, as I said, the only ones that are going to be able to bring Esau down is his own people. That's why the scriptures talk about the sword entering into his own house, roughly paraphrasing, right? Because as it says in Revelation 13 and 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having seven heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. So that's the point, all right, which represents, obviously the feet represent the end of something. So, you know, who is this been in reference to? Russia, all right, as I read in Ezekiel 38, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to use those Russians, as well as all those allied to Russia. But nevertheless, Russia is going to be the spearhead. He's going to lead the charge in America's destruction. Because again, America's too powerful for any other nation to touch. Outside of Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to use the Russian Edomites to lead the charge. All right, like the scriptures talk about, one that escapeth a lion to run into a bear. You know, also going into you know, can also liken that unto, again, them Russians. All right, because again, in the midst of all this, these distractions and enchantments, again, these people, especially these Babylonians, they're completely oblivious to what's going on. All right, Trump stays talking shit against NATO, Babylon and Persia, so-called Iranians are going back and forth. All right, you know, the stage is being set for all hell to break loose. And again, playing off this video, because again, this is the spirit that these people are in.
One of our 32 allies, Spain is the exception, we won't focus on them right now. 31 NATO allies committed to 3.5% of GDP to defense direct, and an additional 1.5% indirect to defense. Unprecedented. It came from pressure from the Trump administration. I think it's going to yield results. The person who understands this and is going to respond in a way that concedes to NATO interests is Vladimir Putin. He doesn't want NATO to be strong. And I'll tell you what, Vladimir.
And you know, we are in unprecedented times. Here it is. Again, speaking of Ammon, the so-called Japanese, again, being that we are in the atmosphere of war, right? Jeremiah 50 and 21, go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy. After them, saith the Lord, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. Talking about America, all right? Merathaim, you know, talk about America, all right? Let's see if that says either double rebellion or, bear with me, because goddamn, has this been one hell of a captivity. So yeah, double rebellion, all right? Which the word America, when you break it down, it goes into to bitter. All right, you know, hence the name, or one of the you know, as I said, mentioned Merathaim, you know, that bitterness. So like I said, America has been one hell of a captivity. So reading on in verse 22, a sound of battle is in the land and of a great destruction. So again, in the midst of all this, all right, the stage is being set for all hell to break loose. World War III. All right, here it is. You've got these central banks, man, steady buying gold and silver. Well, why is that? Well, I mean, you could just go into Google and type in what is the significance of central banks buying gold. What does that mean? And it'll give you a list of things. But matter of fact, I'll look it up real quick. Bear with me. Because the fact that central banks are steadily, buying gold, well, that's going to lead to a number of things. So, just real quick, central banks buying gold means that countries' national banks are purchasing physical gold bars to hold as part of their official financial reserves. Why? Because the writing is on the wall. All right. Overall, the writing is on the wall. All right. It says diversity financial reserves, reducing U.S. dollar reliance, central banks' gold holdings, lower exposure to single currency, spreads out asset risks, bundling gold with foreign currencies, balances the portfolio. It says provides ultimate liquidity. Central banks can sell gold quickly during crisis. Physical gold does not rely on foreign governments. Gold preserves buying power when paper money loses value. Yeah, because this whole system is about to collapse. All right. It says protects against foreign sanctions, signals national economic strength, navigates gold economic uncertainty. Like I said, there's several reasons, but one in particular, it doesn't list here, which Esau tends to do that sometimes because so much information coming out. Esau, he oftentimes changes the definition in real time. But one of the things that this signifies when you hear about central banks buying gold is it signifies that, hey, you're getting ready to go to war. You're getting ready to go to war. On top of all that, like I mentioned, hey, this whole financial system is about to collapse. There's about to be a depression that we've never seen before, and so on and so forth. But on top of all that, it's a sign that we're getting ready to go to war. All right.
Putin is almost flat on his back because of the way Ukraine's fighting and because of the weapons they got. But I will say this: NATO has certainly let us down when it came to what's happening in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, I mean, allies need to step up with us. They did not on Iran. You could discuss, hey, maybe they should have been more kind of discussion in advance of the operation. But once we were in a fight, NATO allies to join us. Some of them did. So.
And real quick, it's like you to keep interrupting. But again, as I always make the point, read some of these comments, all right? Because they stay talking shit against NATO and the EU, Like this comment here says, NATO is a defense pact, not plan B. When your sneak attack fails and you don't know how to get out of a quagmire of your own making. It says NATO is too busy defending Greenland from US. They don't have time to help us, right? And this comment says, you started by yourself, you ended by yourself. So you see, because more and more of these allies having to get drugged in because of Babylon. So you see, like I always mention, man, read these comments because people are starting to wake up. NATO is a defense alliance. It won't go to war for a member who initiates a war. So you see, but yet Babylon stays talking shit against its own allies.
Wasn't an alliance large issue? I mean, the Poland and the Balts are doing more than their fair share, so it's not writ large across the 32 allies, but some of those core allies did not, like France, Germany, and the UK.
So if Ronald Reagan was successful the first time he ran for president against Gerald Ford, he would have been president in 1976 for the 200th birthday. What would you think of America 250 as we sit there with the Capitol right behind us?
American pride. That simple. President Reagan loved America, and most importantly, he wanted all Americans to love America, and he'd been rejoicing at what we've accomplished in these 250 years, and he'd been excited, not just about what we accomplished in the past, but about America's future.
So when you talk about...
And, hey, America doesn't have a bright future, all right? Because, like I said, this video was rather interesting, because, again, this is the spirit that these Babylonians are coming in, pride. And what does Isaiah 13:11 say? And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. All right, because like it says here in Isaiah, as I always make the point, the so-called white man gets too much credit. Isaiah 51. Isaiah 51 and 13 in the AMP, that you have forgotten the Lord your Maker. So Yahweh Bashim Shai is getting ready to reintroduce himself, like this wicked nigga Jay-Z, right? Allow me to reintroduce myself, right? Well, Yahweh Bashim Shai, he's getting ready to reintroduce himself because the world has forgotten, and that's the problem. Reading on, who stretched out the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth, that you continually tremble with fear all the day long because of the rage of the oppressor, right? Like the scripture say, I will ease me and mine adversaries, right? But here it is again. People give the so-called white man, he gets too much credit. It says, as he takes aim to destroy, and where is the rage of the oppressor? Why? Because Yahweh Bashim Shai is getting ready to mow the so-called white man down, as well as all the other heathens and 2/3, the wicked in general. All right. So, like I said, this is the spirit that these people are coming in with everything that's going on right now. All right. These people, they're just walking around in that complete darkness, complete ignorance. Meanwhile, Yahweh Bashim Shai is making major powerhouse chess moves. All right. Major chess moves. And as I've been saying, it's not a matter of time. It's at this point, it's any day now. Because you want to talk about America's future. Well, this is America's future isn't so bright. Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, the grinders cease because they are few. AI is taking over everyone's jobs, right? It says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So, there was a time when, you would look out the window, hear the birds chirping, a beautiful sunny day. But the times that we're coming into, as the scriptures talk about, is a day of darkness and gloominess. And I always make the reference, when you go outside, man, and you see those dark clouds just looming, and you don't know if it's going to be, you don't know what, what's, you don't know what's coming. You don't know if it's going to rain. It's just that feeling of uncertainty. All right. So, again, man, America's future is not bright whatsoever. But nevertheless, these people, they're still in that spirit of pride. And how about Shemal Shai? He's going to humble this place. So, just thought that, this was rather interesting, man. People having all type of dreams, prophetic dreams, man. We're in those times. Again, it's not a matter of time. It's any day now. You know, any day now. How about Shema Shah is getting ready to chin check everyone. You know, and of course, the punches that tend to knock you out is the ones you don't see coming. You know, because again, we're all about to get chin checked, but the difference is, you know, we brace for impact. You know, we're bracing for impact, so it's not going to hurt as much compared to these people. We're not going to be as nearly as affected as these people. Lord willing. Hopefully this was edifying. Call Allah Yahweh Shema Shah Shalom to you hopefully elect.